Hi, Tijen.
Hello, Jamie.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well. How are you? Good to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to chat today. I'm doing really well. I've had an interesting day in keto. We had a little earthquake today in the middle of a meeting.
Oh no, I'm so sorry to hear
It's
that.
okay. It was little. It was not a scary one, but I did throw myself under the desk in the middle of the meeting, so it was really funny.
Did you take the video cam with you?
No, no, no. I just kind of went like, I went off
Oh,
screen. Yeah,
oh,
but otherwise everything's great over here.
oh, I'm glad to hear all is well, and it's so nice to have you here with me today.
Thank you. It's always great to talk to you. I'm excited to hear a little bit about this program that you're running about chemistry in coaching sessions. I'd love for you to like
Yes,
explain
yes.
what that's about. What are you doing?
Yeah, thank you for joining me to help answer some of the questions. It's actually chemistry session, as I call it, is the very first session. When the client has an interest in coaching, they reach out to you to find out what is that about, if they don't know anything about coaching, or they can also have this session to see if you're a good fit as a coach. And that's the client's perspective. But of course, as a mentor, I teach my students all the time that it's not only about them, but for you to understand. Because there is the ethical part of coaching as well, right? Is this
Mhm.
a coachable client? Is this the right client for me? And we are also human beings that if the client has something that they want to work on with you, that you as a coach haven't worked on. So then it will
Yeah.
affect your ability to coach properly. So all that needs to be understood in that session, along with sometimes we call it sponsored meetings,
Yeah.
that when another person or another organization paying for the coaching,
Hmm.
then it brings more complexity to the situation. So that involves meeting with them to understand what they need and what the person that you will be coaching needs and how to bring them together. So that session is a very significant and important session that I find a lot of the coach trainings doesn't do it justice to teach that properly. So that's what I'm going to do on December 4th, 11
Yeah.
a.m. Eastern Time.
That sounds really great. Well, and I know as you and I have gotten to know each other through our collaborations with Lemon Rebellion and everything, the way you first speak, even with me in a collaboration where it's not a coaching kind of relationship, I really appreciate the energy with which you come to that. And I'm wondering when you are, in this program and when you are conducting those first sessions, what are the things that you consider are to be really important to discuss in that initial session to assure the success of the entire engagement?
Yeah, I teach my students, I do that too, right? As a sensitive person, you need to know. I say, put your tentacles out to see. First of all, is this again a coachable client? And for
Mhm.
you to understand, you need to ask a lot of probing questions about clients' physical, mental, emotional health and well-being, because in order for somebody to be coached, they need to be at some level of fitness level to
Yeah.
be do that, right? And then what are their needs? Is that fitting you? At the deepest level of coaching, everything is about spirituality, that how they enhance one's spiritual experience in life. But in the more superficial levels, then it gets to be the subject matter expertise. Like
Hmm.
companies look at, if they are looking for high degree of coaching engagement for, let's say, chief of staff, they
Right.
would often look like, what corporate experience do you have? So that could also be there. Is there a match? And also both the coach and the client, they need to like that engagement, right? And
Right.
they also need to be fit in the value structure. So for me, as a person loves peace and harmony, I will not, for example, take a leadership coaching when somebody tends to be a little bully. So,
Sure,
right? So
right.
you need to understand client's value system, your value system. So in that session, it's important to go through certain things that clients' coachability, what are they looking to be coached on, and how exactly it's going to fit to your background, your value system, what are their value system, are you going to be okay? For example, if you have very conservative values, maybe you don't want to work with somebody who is not, right?
Sure.
So
Sure.
maybe, and also there is also structural things, that who's going to pay, what is going to, right, how often, and do you want to offer the package, and so on, and then also procedural thing is that what is the engagement goal, and then how do you break it down to the individual sessions, and is that doable? Let's say if somebody want to change their overhaul in their life and they can only buy 3 sessions,
Sure.
it's not going to
be a
happen,
good fit.
right? So yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And what do you see as some of the common mistakes that people might make in those initial chemistry sessions that then I'm sure have consequences later on?
Oh yeah, this I teach every time that I'm taking through new cohort. I tell them that there is a practicum in coaching engagements, that coach trainings. And during the practicum, often that the coaches coach pro bono. And so then, or in the beginning of their career, they coach pro bono, they become more desperate to take anybody. So then they don't do this assessment right. Then it affects their ability to coach. The sessions turn into mentoring session, consulting session, not necessarily a coaching session, especially if the client is a people pleaser. They are gonna ask you to approve them and all that. That's not coaching. So biggest thing I see that the coach don't do this assessment, setting their tentacles out to understand is the client coachable. Another thing when it comes to executive or professional coaching, that coaches don't do due diligence around what are the sponsors need, what is the coaches need, are they meeting together, how can I bring everybody's needs into an harmonic coaching agreement. So there needs to be more work in the professional and executive setting than others. Same thing can happen also in health and wellness, that the doctor's offices or hospitals or insurance companies often sponsor the coach's time. Then they may have different needs than the client itself. So you need to understand all that and ask questions to maneuver properly.
Yeah, I'm sure that I want to ask another question there to go a little deeper with that. I'm sure, how common is it that a sponsor and a coachee have different visions or values around what the engagement is going to look like, and how deep are you going to get into that in this program too?
Yeah, it is very common, because what happens is that often companies have this high performing persons programs. And there, then it seems to the organization, if you are part of that program, you are in a different track for promotion. Therefore, people want to be in the program, and in coaching is part of that program. So then they get in it, but their heart is not in it.
I see.
Or they don't have time. That the often organizations, I talk about this with HR leaders, that high performing means that taking the juice out of people often, right? So the change requires space and time. That is another mistake that I see. People don't ask in this chemistry session, how much time do you have to change? Are you capable, willing, and ready for change? These 3 questions needs to be answered yes. in
Yeah.
every way. So therefore, that the sponsors have an idea how to develop the person, and then often coaches, clients have their own ideas, and sometimes I see that also they carry different values. They come to a particular level in their careers and they don't want to kill themselves like that anymore. They get in the program because their bosses want it, and then they actually don't have enough resources in them to really get in alignment with that. So it happens often. So in order to avoid that, I meet with the sponsors, meet with the coachee, and bring them together. So I'm going to talk about all that in the workshop as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that sounds like a really useful thing for, lots of coaches that are thinking, how can I be more, find a better fit clients really from the very beginning, so that you're kind of improving the chances of an engagement going really well and being a really high impact for the clients that come on board, and getting the results that the sponsor's also looking for. Sounds like a good selection process.
It is, and also prevents you to get in a pickle like that, right? If you go in a sponsored engagement because it's exciting and paying okay, and you're like, oh yeah, I want to do this, but then
Right.
you find out the coachee doesn't want to be coached. That
Right, and both of your results are tied up in one another.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Well, tell me a little more, what do coaches need to share about themselves in order to kind of make themselves more desirable and eligible for their clients? Because like you said, it's a match in many ways, the client to the coach to the client, and both sides need to feel like this is a place where I want to be and play to get to these goals. How can a coach be more of themselves and make themselves more attractive in that first call?
Yeah, thank you for that question too. I actually have another workshop around branding and niche. I developed that because what I find that at least my students, that coaches are often highly sensitive beings. Therefore, that standard marketing tools, it doesn't work well for them. They don't feel comfortable about pushing themselves out as a product. Right. So my method is that not to push, but respond to the pull information. Mm-hmm. So let's say that more you understand what client wants. For example, if the client is looking for somebody understand the corporation and the communication in corporation well, I could just, as I hear their needs, and I could say, I have been coaching so many people in that with examples. So mm-hmm. I am weaving my experience into their needs, instead of telling I have this, that, the other thing. That it's then in a way client feels right off the beginning they're at the center stage and I'm responding to their needs. So it's important, coaches, to share their background and specific niches, specific experiences, response to the client needs. And sometimes that I ask them, what do you know about me? Have you visited my website and so on? So this way, I'm not repeating what they saw.
Sure.
And then I can say, what about that I can answer more? What do you want to know more about me? So then I can respond to their needs than being pushy. So certainly that it depends on the coach's comfort level. Mm-hmm. It's helpful for them to share their background, relevant experiences, and maybe specific coaching techniques and modalities. If the clients, for example, looking for more positive psychology applications in coaching, you may talk about your training on that too.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And who is this workshop really for, this program really for? Who are your ideal people to come in, and who is it not for? I always like to ask that too.
Good, thanks. So it's pretty much for every coach that feels they can brush up their chemistry sessions, because this is also your sales call, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So the more you learn and more techniques and you get to practice, better you're gonna get and improve your sellability, because you are your own product. So even for the seasoned coaches, I welcome to join them. They may have their own techniques, but I build in a practical hour for this session so that people get to practice with one another. How I don't know any organizations, that any teaching organizations allow the coaches to practice this chemistry session. They often have the coaches practice regular coaching to goal sessions. So this will be helpful for pretty much a lot of the coaches, certainly the ones that are shifting from different backgrounds like therapy, or the ones that are starting, they definitely benefit. But if you have been a coach for a while, let's say 10, 15 years, and you nobody gives us a feedback, right? It will be good to come and see and then learn from everybody in this supportive learning environment. Yeah.
That's awesome. I always think it's one of the best practices of adult learning, right? When you allow the adults to share what they know, how they do it, and give them a chance to kind of demonstrate that. So other adults with their own styles can give feedback, and you obviously leading it can give your great expertise. I think that's really cool. So what does the program look like? How long does it last? How often do you meet? What's your interaction level kind of with the group as people go through?
It's basically just a one-time 2-hour workshop. And the first hour, I will be sharing the best practices I have developed over the years. As you know, that I am in executive coaching, life coaching, health and wellness coaching, coach educator, mentor coach. So in my prior life, I was a mastery level Lean Six Sigma person. So I have a lot of best practice development. So the first hour I talk about those, and then the students will go and practice with one another. Then they come back to the learning integration, that as a group, we hear what in the breakout room, what they learned, what they discovered, and people get to hear more about it. And then if there is more additional learning needs, then I can host additional training. But this is a one-time offer that one of my students really pushed me.
Yeah, great.
Offering. So it's a good time for people to join, because this is not something, at least at the moment, I don't offer regularly.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking of the new year coming up, and everyone's getting their goals and their targets set for next year. Having that sales call skill just refined a little bit, and knowing that you've got some kind of new ways of engaging and making that meaningful and effective would, I'm sure, be really valuable for a lot of people. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about it? What do you think? What are some questions you get about these kind of things that maybe people are thinking, oh, I'd love to know a little bit more about that before deciding if I join or not?
Yeah, I think that another question maybe people were thinking about, it is actually everything listed on my jenkocoaching.com under upcoming events. There will be 2 CEUs for health and wellness coaching.
Okay.
And International Coach Federation is more restrictive about core competency CEUs, but I will be offering resource development CEUs for 2 of them on this as well.
That's important to know. That's great. I'm sure that'll be very helpful for a lot of people too. And so they can sign up on jenkocoaching.com, look at the events, and that's where you have the info to join this workshop.
Absolutely, yes. And they can also, I will be recording the session. They can view for a while, that if they need to go back and visit. Another thing that people often, when they sign up for my workshops, that I am so blessed to create very supportive groups. So they get to meet with people like themselves. And if they want to continue to connect and work with their partner that in that session or other people in that session, they can actually certainly do that. So that will be another supportive thing to know.
That's great. Yeah, that's so important and so nice, isn't it? When you find like-minded people that you just can grow with professionally and personally, it's so meaningful. That's nice that you create that space within your workshops too. Awesome. Well, I'm excited as always about what you're doing. I think it's great how you serve your clients and your network through these kind of events, and I hope lots of people sign up because it's certainly going to be a super valuable experience to join you on this journey for this how to conduct client chemistry workshop in December. What day was it that it started?
December 4th.
December 4th. Is that next week?
Yes, it's yes, and it will be in a Zoom environment. And thank you so much for helping me to get the message out. Jamie, it's always joy to be collaborating with you.
Oh, thank you, friend. Always a joy for me too. I'm excited as can be about you, and I think it's great to be able to learn about what you're doing and help get the word out. So everybody sign up. Tijen's amazing. Go right now. Go sign up.
Thank you, Jamie.
Great. Tijen, have a wonderful, blessed afternoon. It was lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you. Take good care. Appreciate you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.